For full-size gaming keyboards, Corsair is one of the biggest names in the game. Today we're going hands-on with one of their latest, the Corsair K70 RGB Pro. With a variety of Cherry MX switch options and rich features like media keys, detachable wrist rest, and a detachable USB-C cable, how does it perform for the $160 to $170 price point? Well, let's dive in and take a closer look at the Corsair K70 RGB Pro. Thanks for watching 9 to 5 Toys. Be sure to like, subscribe, and enable notifications with the bell icon so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Hey everyone, Jordan here with 9 to 5 Toys. The K70 RGB Pro is a full-sized, full-featured gaming keyboard with a couple nice little features in here. Though not as large as the K100, which features additional macro keys on the left side of the keyboard, the added space at the top of the keyboard makes the overall footprint fairly large. But other than that, Corsair keeps things pretty neat and tidy with the design of the K70 RGB Pro. There's a discrete K70 logo on the bottom left of the board that looks really nice, and an illuminated Corsair logo near the top. Surrounding that Corsair logo is a glass portion that also houses some small light indicators for icons like the lock button, caps, scroll lock, and num lock. And the K70 features an aluminum frame with a brushed metal finish on top, but that gives it a really solid feel overall. I'll try twisting it here, and there's really not a whole lot of flex in it for, the pretty substantial size of this thing. And that helps to aid in just kind of like the premium feel of this keyboard. Taking a look at the back of the board, we do have the kind of two-stage feet up here, and they go to the sides. And one thing that I didn't like about the K100 is it felt like anytime I moved the keyboard, left or right, like if I was typing and then moving it to the side for gaming, it felt like these feet would kind of come in. But on the K70 RGB Pro, that has not been an issue. It's felt really solid. There are also some channels in here. I think this is for routing the cable, detachable cable if you want, although I don't really know why you would want to route it underneath and then out in different ways. I mean, typically you would just have it, come out the top unless you're mounting this in some weird place, but interesting design there nonetheless, I guess. Back on the front of the keyboard, it also features a nice assortment of media keys. Above the numpad are physical buttons to play, pause, stop, and skip tracks. Further up on the raised portion of the keyboard at the top are a rolling volume control and a mute button. And the volume control here has a nice texture to it, so it's easy to find. It also has really smooth motion. There aren't any notches or any stops in there. And so it's really easy to move and change the volume. I think it adjusts it by like 2 steps on the system audio in Windows 10. So really nice and easy to find and easy to use. And then the mute button actually has a nice click to it. It kind of feels like a mouse click and kind of sounds like one too. I think you can hear that there. So it has a nice kind of click to it. It's pretty satisfying. And then additionally, in the upper left of the keyboard over here in this corner, there are 3 more buttons. First is a profile button, and then a brightness button, which has 5 different steps for RGB. And the last one is a lock button that will lock out functions like Alt-Tab and the Windows key so that you don't actually pull those up when you are gaming. And then another cool feature here, I'll flip it around one more time, actually near where the detachable USB-C port is, there's a tournament switch here, which has a kind of physical plastic lock. So you can turn that on and then flip up this little plastic piece that's going to make sure that it can't turn off unless you flip that back down, so making sure it's pretty secure. And that tournament button is going to do a few things, one of which it's going to make this a static RGB color, so there's not like added distractions when you are gaming. And then it can disable some macro functions as well. So it kind of just locks out those controls that you don't really want to worry about if you are in a tournament gaming session. So overall, I'm just really impressed with the build quality. This feels like a really solid keyboard. And then also the added media keys and functions, everything feels really great on here. The media keys above the numpad, they have a nice feel to them. They don't have the same click as like what the mute button does, but it's obviously nice to have those extra keys up here. The wrist rest on here is detachable. It doesn't have a soft finish to it. It's kind of like a hard plasticky textured finish. We'll get some close-ups so you can see what that looks like. And then it is magnetic, so it snaps onto here very easily and has a nice secure connection. So yeah, it's not kind of like the plush padded wrist rest that you might be more used to, but it's definitely functional if you're used to using a wrist rest and want a little bit of added height down there. All right, and moving on to switches, Corsair's offering a wide variety of Cherry MX switches. I went with the brown tactile switches, but there are also options for blue clicky, red linear, speed, and silent switches. The last two, the speed and silent, are $10 more than the standard options, bringing that price up to $170. And I mean, really, there isn't, a whole lot to say about these switches because they've been around for a long time. There are plenty of reviews, plenty of keyboards are using these, and they're just kind of like the industry standard. And Corsair has gone with these instead of a proprietary switch, so you know what you're getting when you get this keyboard if you've tried something like a cherry brown or red or blue before. So personally, I do enjoy tactile switches. I like having just a little bit of a bump, a little bit of feel there. I like light tactile switches, like these are, like the Cherry MX, and then also Gateron browns. For me, when I am gaming, if I'm using a light linear switch, I often accidentally hit buttons. That's probably just based on what I'm used to with gaming. Maybe I could get used to that after a while, but I enjoy having a tactile switch, and so Cherry MX browns have always been like a decent switch for that. Spec-wise, Cherry MX brown switches have a light 55-gram actuation force, 2mm actuation distance, and a 4mm total travel distance. For keycaps, Corsair is using double-shot PBT keycaps, which are kind of industry standard on the higher end. Like, these are some really high-quality keycaps that they have on here. These are well regarded for their durability, and they feature a textured finish that won't really show glossy wear, and then they also aren't too slippery either. The font is large and legible, but some of the keys, like the numbers, are a little more gamery when it comes to design. And shine through on these keycaps is pretty good as well. There are some keys where it's not super bright, or looks like there's maybe like a tiny little imperfection like on the control keys and some of the smaller numbers, but overall I think it looks pretty good. All right, and moving on to typing experience, Cherry MX browns, they've been around for a long time, you know what to expect. Typing experience on here is it's fine. It's nothing to write home about. It's not going to like make keyboard enthusiasts super excited about it, the sound and the feel, but it's not bad either. Like, everything is totally fine on here. There's a bit of rattle in the stabilizers, which isn't to be unexpected. That's pretty common. We'll do a sound test here in a moment, but the keys themselves do sound and feel okay. I've been using the HyperX Alloy Origin 65 recently, which is much smaller, and I have the Aqua tactile switches in that, and the sound and feel of that one just feels, a little bit more premium. And so going to this one, things just sound a little bit more hollow, a little bit more scratchy, not quite as a like higher end kind of feel and sound to it. But yeah, don't get me wrong, like it's fine, it's adequate, but it's not going to, it's not like a super premium, or it's not a super impressive typing and sound experience on here. And so here we'll do that sound test and also compare it to the Alloy Origin so you can hear what it sounds like. And of course, the K70 RGB Pro has per key RGB lighting built in. Inside of Corsair's IQ software, things can get pretty technical for lighting. Similar to Razer's Synapse, you can add layers and dial in some custom lighting to specific keys, or just run with a generic setup like I usually do. The lighting isn't crazy bright, but in dim settings, it's plenty visible and plenty brilliant. And there isn't any extra RGB, like on the sides or on the front or back or anything. It's just coming through those keys. So that's something to keep in mind as well. If you're really looking for RGB, there are some other keyboards that have, additional lights like on the side or on the front or the back that you can pick up for a little bit more color. And while in IQ, there are other settings that can be tweaked on the K70 RGB Pro. Featuring Corsair's Axion processing, this board can go up to 8,000 Hz polling rate, meaning that it scans the board every 0.125 milliseconds for input. So So compared to the more standard 1000 Hz, this can mean much faster performance, but I would imagine that most people really won't be able to actually notice that increased speed. And additionally, you can tweak the T-switch debounce time, adjust the tournament mode backlighting color, and set onboard profiles. So overall, wrapping up here, Corsair has definitely made a name for itself with high quality peripherals, and I definitely think that this lives up to the name. The type of experience, isn't anything to write home about. It's not crazy over the top, but it performs great. It feels good. I think the design of the keyboard is really nice. I love the little K70 logo down here. I love the addition of the media keys. The volume roller is also really easy to use as well, and it feels extremely solid. So build quality feels great on here. Just some nice features built into this keyboard. But that's gonna do it for our review of the Corsair K70 RGB Pro. Let us know what you think about it down in the comments below. And if you're looking for some other videos to watch, I'll link to our review of the K100 as well as our most recent video. And thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. This is Jordan with 9to5 Toys.